Hello, and welcome to another Game Developers Vlog, in which I'll be talking about my upcoming game, for which we finally have some material to show. These nice little sketches that I made. And I made them over the weekend at work. It was very calm at work, so I had quite a bit of time to think about my game and make these sketches inspired by my thoughts. A bit on the role of the game in my development. it uh, it was at first always just meant to be a very quick program to write in perhaps a few days or a week. Very simple, and just to show that, hey, look, I can make games with graphics that move now, because I haven't before. And so I've been thinking about what kind of game can I make that is so simple, and but that's still a little bit fun to play at least. It's mostly a technological demonstration, but it should at least be interesting to play, right? So I mean, I was thinking about that, thinking about, it should just be on one screen. You shouldn't move around too much, shouldn't demand too much of me. Make a few sprites and be done with it. But I did come up with an idea that was far better than anything I would expect me to come up with for this kind of game. Uh, and so as soon as I got it, it had the effect that really good ideas often have, that they immediately snowball. They made me think about so many things, that, ooh, if I do that, then I can do this. I could do this with the theme. I could do this with the kind of, kind of story, the setting. I could do this with the graphics. I could do this with the features. Could have this and then add that kind of feature. Make the game more interesting, more challenging, more fun that way. Immediately these thoughts started coming, and I sort of recognized, well, this is how it usually feels when I get good ideas. And I, from having had a few ideas that I thought of, well, yeah, this would be akin to that sort of game that I know of, or that sort of game that I know of, but I didn't feel that they were really worth doing, except as pure practice, pure exercises. And I had very low expectations because uh, this is not the kind of game. It's an action game. It's not the kind of game that I started programming to make. I'm not primarily into games programming to make action games. I want to make turn-based strategical games and role-playing games more than anything else. But on my road there, and in order to learn, I thought I'll make a few action games. And I have a bit of interest in them, just not nearly as much as the other kinds. And that therefore I was surprised to see, well, this could actually be decent. And so what is it? Well, it's a game about Björkerottan, or in English, the birch rat, this adorable rodent on the bicycle there and jumping off a train here. Whether the train is stationary or not is up to the viewer to decide. And I thought, well, imagine you're a kind of like a bicycle messenger or something in Copenhagen, or at least the game will set you in that sort of situation. And I thought, well, what would be an interesting situation? Because that would be an interesting setting, Copenhagen, running around, cycling around. Why not? But there should be some challenge, right? Well, there could be traffic. Yes. What else? Well, what if I add bloodthirsty cannibals? I first thought of them as kind of zombies, but that's been done so much. These are not zombie rats; they are crazed cannibal rats, and they are that because they've been infected with some horrid virus. No, I don't think I've been inspired by the coronavirus panic, but who's to say? It's everywhere these days, so it might have happened. I don't mind. Anyway, that's what they are. Your mission in the game is to find a cure, because really, Copenhagen is in a crisis. And the tentative title for the game is Björkerottan in Copenhagen Crisis. That sounds kind of nice, I think. Possibly just Copenhagen Crisis to not alienate the non-Swedish speakers. of the world. There are quite a lot of them. So that then, you'll have to fight off these insane rodents in various ways. You see him wielding guns there and a bicycle there. If this can be called wielding a bicycle, I don't know. There'll likely be other tools as well. For example, I played with the idea of letting you have explosives of some kind to let you kind of blow a hole in a wall if you're caught. Let's say you're caught inside a building and these mad rats come running at you from the entrance. Where are you supposed to go? Well, you could try to fight them off all, but that might be difficult. So maybe you can blow a hole in the wall. What's the sort of thing that I and my friends found to be the the ultimate level of interactivity, a sort of dream in the games of our day when we were in our pre-teens. Uh, but that's the sort of level that we're looking here technologically. It's going to be two-dimensional. It's going to be a top-down view. For those of you who haven't played games, imagine you're looking at the world from a drone flying above, and you are controlling one of the little people down there. You're seeing it top down. You call it a top down 2D twin stick shooter. Twin stick because you use two different control methods, and stick because it's a reference to joysticks, right? But probably a keyboard for one hand where you control the movement of the little rat guy, and the mouse in the other hand, in which you control where he's looking or aiming or whatever. It's a tried and true method of controlling games that is usually very smooth. It's very intuitive usually. So that's the sort of game. And with regards to what it might be, though, I'm going to try to make this as small as I can. I don't think it will take less than 2 weeks to make, because I've the idea is rather larger than I at first thought it would be. But I think it's good enough to make a little bit larger. So I'm going to try to keep it very small to begin with. But I want to let it be understood that if this is something people enjoy, or even if it's just something I enjoy enough, I feel, oh, this turned out well enough for what it is, I might actually expand it into a larger thing. Maybe work as much on it as I did for Untrodden Lands, the game of last year, the main game project of last year. Though a wholly different experience than that. And actually try to make a product, maybe even a, a retail product, something that will be for sale. I don't know. That depends on how much time I put into it. But I feel it has potential, at least to be, you know, tiny. It wouldn't cost more than $1 or two, I suppose. But my first professional effort as a games developer, possibly. I feel that it has a lot of potential. Um, and then I think the optimal way of making this game would be in 3D. Maybe just a simple version of 3D. There are different levels of complexity. There are many, many different levels of complexity of 3D games. One of the lower such levels, but still. So once I've gotten there, which I project I will be making simple 3D graphics within the year. I might even go for a number 2 to this game, a sequel, because I think it would be at best if you saw your little rat guy slightly from behind and him running about, and that would I think that would lend itself best to the kind of experience I want to provide with bicycle chases on the streets of Copenhagen, winding in and out of traffic, climbing up onto rooftops and running there possibly, um, hijacking the odd speedboat and running that around the channels and harbor. Who knows? Uh, I feel there's lots of potential. Really, the whole game idea is very close to the Grand Theft Auto series of games, the first two of which were 2D top-down games, and all the subsequent sequels have been three-dimensional, just the way I describe it, actually. Uh, So it's not a terribly original idea, apart from the rat, I guess. But, you know, good enough to explore, I think. I think that's all I have to. Should I detail what's happening here? I mean, I think it's quite self-evident, isn't it? What's going on? He's just in a dire situation in both these um, images, and I think I was thinking of, you know, what could prospective cover art look like, or just a sort of splash image of the game, the title screen, whatever that would give you immediately set the mood for the game, that sort of thing. I had fun drawing them. I'll probably be making more of the kind. That's all I have for now. I hope this was interesting, enticing, and that you'll follow this project with interest. With that, I want to wish you a good time of day and goodbye.